All right, record now. It's straight business. Here we go. Bell ringer for today. Ringing the bell. Oh, not this. Not that. That's vocab. Can't do that. Where is it? Let's see if I can find. There it is. Describe Freud's iceberg method with personality and his idea of the unconscious mind. How is psychoanalysis challenged and not viewed as valid? There we go. Although it's an historical approach, many have connections with it and believe it really is useful. In some cases, it's not valid. We also talked about behaviorism yesterday, but I'll talk a little bit more about that next week. Maybe tomorrow, actually. Freud. Make sure you remember him. He'll be brought up a lot, especially with the basics of psych and historical approaches, right? There's a lot of things that he's known for. If you have to draw the iceberg, go ahead. That's fine too. Easy way to remember it. I guess Jern must be close. He's on YouTube right now. I tried to lock his screen. What do you think, Booker? Dern must be close. His screen's popping up on my Apple Classroom, and he's watching YouTube. I should lock it. What do you think?
Yeah.
See what he does. All right, give you another minute to finish up here, and we'll discuss it. We'll go over it, and we'll move on today. Got to study for trigonometry, right? Calculus. So what is it again you're studying? Yeah, but what?
I don't know. You're asking what class. This derivatives.
Derivatives.
All applications of
I don't even know where to begin there.
derivatives from like back in November.
Really? Jeez. Is that still like the same chapter from November?
There's probably like 20 like applications.
That's one thing with math. Like, I'd always miss step 3, and then you'd be on 20. You're like, I'm totally lost. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, you miss one step, and you're done for.
And it's always like, only a few questions. Like she's not bad with getting a lot of questions, but it's like mess them up. There goes your grade.
Yeah. The whole thing done. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's go over this real quick. Freud's iceberg method with personality. What do we have here? So, do I have to draw the iceberg back up, or are we good? I think we're all right. So the iceberg, all right? So part of it's underwater, but the majority is underwater, right? And what is labeled underneath the water, deep under the water? What is it called? Sarah?
Is it pronounced the id?
The id.
I've heard other people say that, but I heard you saying ID yesterday. So
Yeah, it's the id. I like calling it ID, but if you want to say id, that's fine too. Yeah. Id, ego, and superego. Yep. So let's just call it the id. So the id, what is it? What is it? What part of the consciousness is it? Anna? The unconscious. Good job. And what's located in this unconscious mind here? Anna? Okay, good, right? So this is secrets. This is pleasures. This is something that we're trying to always seek. And it might not be morally correct, right? So this is the unconscious mind. And this is something that we're trying to hide. Although it's the larger portion of our mind, this is something that we try to make sure that people don't, well, we don't present to people. Okay, we're trying to hide this. Good job. And he says the unconscious mind actually drives our motives, drives us to have friends, relationships with people. Okay, in some cases, you know what? You might be right. You might be right. Okay, especially what we can. Especially with best friends, people that we really show a bond with, we share our secrets with, right? We share and we show a little bit more of our personality that we might not show around everybody else. I think we all can agree to that, right? Yeah. All right, good. And what part of the devil angel on her shoulder? What is that part? Is it the devil? Yeah, it's the devil. Yeah, good job. Good job. Okay. Superego. What's a superego? So that's like partially underwater and partially out of the water. What is it here, Campbell? Good job. And describe the superego a little bit.
Like moral characteristics, personality.
Yeah, good job. So good moral characteristics. So this is the guideline, the standard that we want to hold ourselves to. Okay, and it's partially underwater because it's the pre-conscious, right? We might be thinking about those aspects, characteristics, perceptions, personalities, but that's something that we're trying to hold ourselves accountable to or mimic, right? And we don't always do that. So that's why it's in the pre-conscious, right? We might not be constantly focusing on those aspects of our life and our personality that we want to show. So in many cases, we have idols, right? We have people that we look up to, mentors, and we try to mimic their personalities, whether it's humor, whether it's their way of communicating. Okay, I think we all can agree to that as well. And we try to focus our attention on maybe grabbing some of those characteristics and mimicking it. I know. Whenever I messed up as a kid, hey, try to be like your brother. It's like, all right, I don't want to be like my brother. Let's face it, this guy's a bum over there. Look at him. No, I'm just kidding. But my mom would always constantly say that. It's like, oh, your brother, he set the standard. You got to, make sure that you stay to that standard or better, right? Look to be better. And that's the superego. Good. That's the angel on our shoulder, right? Although we don't show these personalities all the time, we try to. Right? We try to reach that standard. All right, and then the ego. What's the ego? Z?
The ego is the conscious mind and it's what we are thinking about and how we present ourselves.
Good job. So it's us, right? It's our personality, what we present to everybody. And that's totally out of the water. And that's our conscious mind, what we're thinking of, what we're doing at that moment. Our current personality that we present. And I think we can all agree to this as well. Like we kind of know what we're going to get from a person, right? We kind of know their personality. Maybe if we can trust them, we know, especially with friendships, who we can lean on if we're ever going through some hard times, right? And that's something that we can all focus and express and know consciously who we can see as a friend or an enemy, I guess, a friend or foe, right? So good. That's the ego, superego, and the id, right? And the ID. And that's the unconscious, pre-conscious, and conscious mind. And make sure you know the aspects, the personalities of each. That will definitely be up on a test or quiz, whatever. I'm thinking maybe a quiz next week. I'll probably know a little bit more Monday, see where we're at Monday, and I'll let you know, okay? All right, any questions on that? And then yesterday we talked about behaviorism, right? We talked about punishment, we talked about reinforcement. We'll get a little bit more in detail probably in chapter 4 or 5, okay? I think it's 4 or 5. And we'll discuss more about how reinforcement and positive punishment, negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement can be used to try to predict behaviors and try to see observable accounts and measures of people, right? All right, is there any questions? I know I talked about B.F. Skinner too. He's one of the people on your vocab term, so make sure you remember him with his study with animals. He did it with rats and pigeons, okay, feeding them, showing them obviously some sort of reinforcement, and then punishment through shock, right, through electrical jolts, right? Okay, moving on here. Moving on. Where are we at? There it is. Today we're going to talk about contemporary approaches. Okay, there's a list of them. We're just going to go over 2 of them. We're just going to go over 2 of them today. But these are the main perspectives that I want you to know. These are the main perspectives I want you to know. You might be asking, oh, you're missing one up there because you say 9 main perspectives. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll go over it then. So I want to go over biological perspective and developmental perspective today. Okay, a little bit about some famous psychologists and some of their work that is expressed through their perspectives. And towards the end, I'll have a case study for you where you can maybe use all of these perspectives to explain a behavior or a personality, okay? All right, so real quick, like I mentioned, psychology has many different perspectives. Okay, like I said, there's 9 of them that we're going to go through. And there's many different ways to look at a certain behavior or personality. I think we all can agree to that as well. Okay, there's not just one answer. Right? There might be multiple different explanations for a certain observable event, a certain behavior, a certain personality. Right? You remember Steve? That story we read about Steve? Kind of, no? The guy that was staying up real late playing video games, not real social. Okay, there's a lot of different responses you gave, right? There's maybe something, an issue that he had in school. Maybe it was an emotional issue that he couldn't really reach out to friends, that he couldn't really formulate a relationship with people. Maybe it was an issue that he saw this as an escape from his regular life, right? There's many different aspects that we can talk about to explain his behaviors. And that was just really to explain that, there's multiple ways to answer a certain problem or certain phenomenon, a certain observable experience of someone, okay? So real quick, biological view. So biological view is really just using science and understanding the body and the mind a little bit more in detail to explain behavior. Okay, in chapter 4, we're going to talk about the brain and its functions. We're going to talk about the neuron, okay, how it fires, how our body and mind work together. Okay. Especially with biological view, you're using new forms of technology to understand the mind, its workings, where a lot of these locations in the brain are located to help with patterns of movements, emotion, memory, balance, right? Okay, how our body responds to this, how our brain tells our body to react to certain situations. And obviously we know this biological viewpoint of psychology is really expressed today, especially with all the technology that we have to study the body even more in detail than obviously what we could in the 1800s and even time before that. No longer do we have to focus on phrenology, right, Sarah? Yeah, since that was real proven. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so we can understand the brain more, understand its patterns, understand neural activity, okay, neurons and how they work with sending information to the rest of our body to react to certain stimulus. Emotion, sensory stimulus. Our motor cortex, right? What pushes us to move and react and reflect certain things. Theories on how we sense pain, how we sense and visualize the world around us. Auditory processing, right? There's a lot of different things with biopsychology offers to us and gives us. All right, real quick, biological psychology really is focused on evolutionary psychology, how we adapt in and how we really learn to live in our environment, okay, and surround ourselves with people that help us survive in our environment, okay, and this kind of overreaches and overlaps into some of the issues that we're going to talk about and some of the psychological perspectives we'll discuss with humanistic psychology, okay, how we try to focus on feeling comfortable and getting to that level of comfort around people. And again, evolutionary psychology, that's really brought up in biopsychology to try to describe how we survived over time, how we evolved to fit and live in our environment. So with the biological perspective, there are branches of it, and evolutionary psychology is one of those branches. How we adapt, how we survive over time. Survival of the fittest, right? And this has been really, this approach has been really used to try to describe countries and their expansion through imperialism, right? This theory really accepted over time, survival of the fittest, and adapting to fit in your environments and using resources and expansion over time. There's a lot of examples of how these approaches and theories can be applied to many different things. All right, so with the evolutionary, social, biological perspective, okay, culture, okay, how heredity over time and nature versus nurture, right? Okay, how this is all answered and how these perspectives are used to try to answer these questions of adaptation and how we can predict behaviors and maybe tend them back to heredity, or maybe it's a question with nurture. Do we learn these? Do we cognitively develop these features and these abilities over time through an adaptation? Right? Has our brain evolved over the time period to really sense information, to plan, schedule our daily objectives, to assess problems? Where in our lineage did we do this, right? Where in our lineage did we adapt to fit in our current environment, our current survival? All right, so those are branches of biopsychology, and again, it's really advanced now with technology and with MRIs, okay, with PT scans, right? There's a lot of different ways of understanding the brain even more and focusing on where these processes are being conducted, right? Where we're understanding these different types of issues and how we solve them within our brain and how our body reacts to it. All right, next one, developmental view. Developmental view. So we all know over time we go through changes, right? We go through ways in our lifespan and where we're understanding the world around us a little bit more, where we're experiencing the world around us. Okay, how we develop over time, and there's many different stages, okay, expressed especially by Piaget and his cognitive developmental stages of understanding the world and how we cognitively develop over time. All right, so the first one here, the first stage I need you to know. So this is Piaget's cognitive developmental stages. This is one of the psychologists I wanted to focus on with this stage, with this approach perspective in psychology, because he does a pretty good job of explaining it. Many people critique that, there's more stages to it. There's more, I guess to say, branches that need to be talked about and discussed, where We still are learning and still are trying to become better, right? And still becoming lifelong learners after these stages occur. And number one, sensory motor. So birth to 2 years old. So write this down, guys. You'll need to know this cognitive developmental stages. So sensory motor stage, so that's birth to 2 years old. And let's face it, as a baby, what are babies always trying to do? Kind of says it in the name. What are babies constantly doing? Which describes this cognitive development here in the first stage of our life and of our development in Piaget's theory. What do babies always try to do? What are they doing constantly? Booker, do you know? What do babies do? Touch a lot of stuff, exactly right. Sensory motor. So think about it. Sense, the babies are trying to sense the world around them. Constantly touching things, constantly putting things in their mouth, right? Constantly question, well, I won't say question, but in their mind, they're trying to sense the world around them because they don't have the ability to understand different types of deductive reasoning, right? They have no ability yet to question things at this stage of their life. But for the most part, they're sensing the world around them. So crawling around, putting things in their mouth, it's just a crazy, crazy time, I guess you could say. Funny story with my cat again. I was taking the ashes out of my coal stove down in my basement, and that cat found out real quick his sensory motor cortex, I guess you could talk about. He jumps right in the bottom because I was taking the ashes out. I look back, there he is. His feet are in the bottom, putting it on a hot coal stove. He jumped up and sprinted out. Like, oh, yeah, now you're going to know, huh? Now you learned it. You're going to learn today. But yeah, sensory motor cortex, sensory motor stage. This is the stage in people's lives where they're developing, trying to sense the world around them. You guys ever hear of object permanence? No? You ever hear the game peekaboo? Right? With babies especially, oh yeah, where'd you go? Like they have no idea. They can't grasp the concept of that when you put your hands in front of it. Oh, where'd the face go? Where'd that person go? They disappeared. Or you have a blanket or something, you have a teddy bear, you put it underneath a blanket, where'd the teddy bear go? The baby starts crying, or their toy, or whatever it is. They can't really grasp that knowledge. But towards the end, towards 2 years old, children start to figure it out. They start to figure out, you just put it underneath the blanket. If I pull the blanket, there it is. Yeah, no problem. No problem. You guys ever do that with kids? I know I have. I think it's funny. Or like you walk out of a room, where'd it go? Oh my gosh. People do that with dogs now and put it on their videos and put it on Instagram. It's like put a blanket up, like you're at a wall and you drop the blanket, you run quick behind the wall, the dog's looking around. Where'd he go? That's kind of where that stage is. All right, so that's the first stage. Sensory motor, just think about it, sensing the world around them. All right, number 2, pre-operational, 2 to 7. All right, 2 to 7. So this is like an intuitive age. So write that down, intuitive age. And intuitive age is really just trying to figure out and imagining a world around them, okay? So this is the stage where kids are coming up with imaginary friends. Did any of you have an imaginary friend? Hannah, you didn't? Yeah, you did. Campbell, what about you? Yeah, okay. What was your imaginary friend's name?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Was it a girl, boy? You don't know? Was it an animal?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
It was a pig.
Was it a pig?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I remember.
Followed you around everywhere you went. Yeah. What about you, Booker? No? Sarah?
I really can't remember. I don't think I have like a minute. I'm sure that when I was playing, I imagined.
No, I got you.
I don't think I had like a permanent. Like, oh, my friend's here.
It's a little freaky, isn't it? Like, oh, this kid with friends here. He's actually sitting right behind you. What? Is there a ghost in here?
All those like ghost movies.
Yeah.
Oh, my friend's talking to me right now.
It's scary, creepy stuff. What about a toy? You carry a toy around, like a teddy bear? Yeah.
Stuffed tiger.
Stuffed tiger. Okay. Was it named Tigger from Pooh Bear?
I really don't remember his name. I carried it around until I was like 7 years old.
Really? That's how I was with a blanket. I carried a blanket everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, I think we all can, agree to this stage as well. Like we're carrying around these toys and acting like they're actual people and maybe thinking that they're alive. Like Toy Story, right? You ever see the movie Toy Story? Oh, they come alive when you turn your head. Oh, you're always sitting there peeking. I always used to do that anyway. But yeah, I always used to carry a blanket around with me. I remember I went to the Easter Bunny in the malls, like in the Frackville Mall. You guys ever go to malls before? They had an Easter Bunny. I'd go sit on his lap. I'd be freaking out. I hated it. I thought it was really scary. But I brought a blanket with me one time. I carried it up from 2 to 7 pretty much. Actually, I was probably 5 years old when I found out it was gone, taken away. But I had this blanket with me everywhere I go. And I remember right after I got done with the Easter Bunny, I got in my mom's car, and all of a sudden the blanket was gone. So I forgot. I lost it. I left it back at the Easter Bunny. We got to go back and get it. My mom's like, no, we're not. We're gone. We're gone. And I thought I lost it forever. Gone. And forever, I hated the Easter Bunny because he took my blanket. He took away what I carried around everywhere I went. Carried a blanket, sucked my thumb. It's like that kid from Charlie Brown. Ever seen it? And I remember that happening, and I remember having a hatred towards the Easter Bunny because of it. And then probably when I was 15, I remember it was like right in high school. I opened up this one chest in our downstairs, and there's a blanket. I'm like, there it is! Oh my gosh! I used to put it like a cape. I used to act like Batman and run around the house. But anyway, pre-operational stage, intuitive age. You think objects are real, right? You think these inanimate objects. You try to find friends. I had an imaginary friend too. I was weird. I was real weird, I guess. His name was Beep Beep. It was like a little bird that fly around. I'd talk to it. It was weird. And then this is also a stage of egocentrism, right? Write that down too. Egocentrism, where you're constantly questioning things, right? You're constantly questioning things. You see the world only through your own eyes. Like you can't place yourself in other people's shoes. So you're always doing things for your benefit, right? So you might hurt other kids' feelings the way you talk to them, but you really are just focused about yourself. Constantly questioning things. Why? You ever hear kids do that? It gets annoying after a while. Why do you do it? All right already. Knock it off. I just do it. All right, so that's pre-operational, 2 to 7. I would call that the annoying stage. That's what the kids yelling around, my buddy's friends that came over. Oh, what are we yelling about? Knock it off. All right, 3, concrete operational, 7 to 11. So concrete operational, we're moving up the ladder a little bit, but this is still a time where kids are constantly questioning what's going on around them. They're really just trying to focus on something that egocentrism is still a thing, right? They still only view the world through their own shoes, right? They don't have the ability to create relationships just yet. Peers and friends are just formed through common hobbies, maybe something that they watch, like a cartoon. I don't know, something like that. You can see your friend groups really change over time, especially during this stage when we get to concrete operational, because we're not really focusing on the things that at one point we really held near and dear to our lives, right? I know with me, I used to collect Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, those things all the time. I collect them all the time. And my one friend I have, I don't really talk to much anymore because we kind of both left that stage and went in different directions. I went to more sports and things like that, and he kind of focused on video games. I still love video games. I talked to him about that, but one time we were best buds. We had all the Pokemon cards. We'd duel it out in the cafeteria, whatever it might be, and get picked on. Yeah, so concrete operational, you discover logic, right? You discover some sort of mathematical reasoning, reading and writing. We can put these things together and understand it and grasp this knowledge, right? Our frontal cortex, our frontal lobe is starting to develop, where we can understand these types of reasoning and apply deductive reasoning to our lives as well. And deductive reasoning is just understanding if you turn the light on, you hit the switch, to turn the light off, you flip the switch down, right? Same with math. 4 plus 2 is 6, right? 6 minus 2 must be 4. It has to be. Right? So deductive reasoning is formed there. And we're starting at the end of concrete operational, eliminate that egocentrism. We're starting to make relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, right? We're picking best friends that we're trying to show some sort of respect and admiration to. And we're escaping that egocentric, intuitive style. Imaginary friends kind of go to the side. We understand that these objects probably don't come to life. And finally, last stage here, formal operational. So this is really 12 all the way up until you die. Crazy stuff. So rational thinking, right? So rational thinking. This is understanding planning, scheduling, philosophies. Really building more on affection and emotions and applying that to our lifestyle, and really picking relationship partners, okay, friends that will help us. But the biggest thing is rational thinking, okay, understanding different types of perspectives to a certain event, picking and choosing political viewpoints, ideas, agendas, challenging those agendas, those viewpoints, right? Having your own knowledge about a certain situation or certain topic, and giving our the ability to express our opinions through research, right? Backing with evidence. Still today, many people don't do that, but oh well, right? Oh well, what can we do? All right, so make sure you remember Piaget's theory. This is just kind of help you. We went through a lot of these things. And, one of the main things, understanding through science fiction, right? Science fiction is one of those things that in concrete operational, pre-operational, we think we can fly. We think we have these superpowers that we can do, and think that Star Wars is a real thing, right? Spider-Man turning into this mutant thing, whatever. And formal operational, that kind of goes to the wayside. We can understand the difference between, just seeing it as entertainment rather than actuality. Okay. All right. Is there any questions on that? You good? All right. I know we went through a lot of information there, but make sure you know what developmental theory, Piaget's cognitive developmental stages. All right. Those 4 stages, some characteristics with that, the ages, right, and understanding of how we develop over time to accept and develop thinking and understanding. All right. Any questions? We good? Awesome. Oh, also for that activity that I posted yesterday, as we go through these perspectives, make sure you go back to it and fill it out, right? Maybe add to it. There's some things you can maybe use to use it as a study tool eventually. So make sure you go back to add to that. That's all I got.